This is the Alter Slobadka number 14. We spoke last time about the Alter's Dagesh on Gadlus Adam, Kavod Adam, greatness of man, and Kavod Adam. So I just wanted to give some examples of that, something we find specifically Mises by his Talmidim. If you go back to the earlier sessions where he spoke about how his Hatava was part of that also. The Alter saw people as so special. I heard from Jonas and David one time, something he said over from the Alter Slobadka. When a person dies, everybody's very careful with him. Mace, you don't move him around. You're very careful. Imagine if you're taking care of a cadaver and the arm falls off the table, slips off. Everybody's so moved. What was it? You put it back carefully, gently. When it comes to human beings, you push them, and you're live people. You push them, and you're on them. That was the Slobadka type of thought that I heard from Jonas and David, who was Rav Futner's son-in-law. But some Maisim that I think there's a known story about Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, a Talmud that. And there are many, many stories. I'm just picking a few. That Rabbi Yaakov one time stayed up a whole night because I think there was a non-Jew in a room next to him that he was worried his alarm. Yaakov had to get up early, and he was worried if the alarm clock would wake up the non-Jew. So he stayed up a whole night in order not to wake up this non-Jew early. Rav Aaron Cutler is brought from our first series. I don't think we mentioned the story, but there were two brothers. Let's call them the Schwartz brothers, and one was a little heavy. And he called the Talmud. He said, "Go get Schwartz." And the Talmud said, "Which one? The fat one?" So Rav Aaron said, "No, the starka one, the strong one." He meant the fat one, but Rav Aaron didn't want to say he was a fat boy. Rav Aaron said he was a starka boy. And it's known that Rav Aaron, when he was on the turnpike coming from Lakewood to New York, if there was a choice between using the paying for the turnpike by hand or through the machine, he would tell his driver to go by hand to give that non-Jew a feeling. He shouldn't be an obsolete thing. He shouldn't be. That's Kavod Adam. That's a sense of Jew, non-Jew. That's a sense of Kavod Adam. And we'll finish this session with a story, a true story about Rav Aaron, not so well known. After completing this series of 10 on Rav Aaron, before we started with the Alter Slobadka, I was at a chasen and I saw Rav Aaron's grandson, Les Yaakov Schwartzman, the Rosh Yeshiva, what's called Lakewood East. And I said, I just spoke about your grandfather. Do you have a Talmud? Do you have a Maisa to tell me about your grandfather? So he says, listen to this Maisa. He says, the Talmidim didn't like the cooking in the yeshiva. They specifically weren't so happy with the cholent. And one time they took the cholent on Shabbos off the blech and they put it in the basement. Okay? And it was going to be cold cholent. No one was going to have it anymore. And that was the cook was an old almana, a widowed woman, and Rav Aaron caught wind of this, and Rav Aaron was so upset. He says that they're going to hurt the feelings of this almana, and Rav Aaron said, take the cholent, it was cool, take the cholent, put it back on the blech, right? Go ask your local Orthodox rabbi who did, but he said that chazara, putting something on the blech, which of course we don't do this at home, you don't take cholent and put it, that's why we leave it on Erev Shabbos. We're not saying halachas here, but I'm just telling you a Maisa Shahaya, that Rav Aaron said Chazara is a derabanan and the feelings of an almana is a daraisa. This is a biblical thing, this is a rabbinic thing, the biblical thing wins, put it back on. And Schwartzman told me, he said this Maisa over, and one of the known poskim in Eretz Yisrael called him up, he couldn't believe it. He said, maybe this, maybe that. He said, no, this was the Maisa. So that was Mamish Slobadka. That was Mamish Slobadka. The Gadlus Adam, care of people, the sensitivity to people. Right? Some people sometimes get the Gadlus Adam means I have to dress really fancy and look a certain way. It also relates to that, but Bikar, it's about how you treat other people, and we should learn from the Alter's ways and his Talmidim's ways to appreciate what all humanity is, and especially what Klal Yisrael is, and treat them the way, and learn these things. Learn about Gadlus Adam, and learn these Svarim, the Alter Svarim, the Orat Safan, and Torah Avram, and like at Sichos Musar of just Isaac Sher, to build these ideas in ourselves and to see that it's a reality and that it's really what the Torah is all about. The whole Torah is a raya to Gadlus Adam. The fact that we can keep the Torah, that we can hope to keep the Torah, that we try to keep the Torah shows that man is very great and Klal Yisrael is even greater.